right, welcome back to the podcast, First Available, where we talk all things disc golf. We are recording a day early this time due to the Super Bowl, so it's Saturday right now. This episode will come out Monday morning, February 12th. I want to say special guest with me, but I'm hoping to make it more of a regular occurrence. If you're a regular visitor of the channel, the YouTube channel, you've heard me talk about him. He's the guy that got me into disc golf, my best friend since we were real young, Ross Combs.
Yep.
Thanks for joining. How you doing today?
Good. Great.
All right.
After we just played Belmont.
Yep.
A little tired, but we're here.
Yeah, we played Belmont today, so we're kind of keeping it casual again today. We're going to talk mostly about the tournament that we entered into, kind of the same thing as episode number 1 from last week. So we had entered into the Freezer Bowl hosted by Hazy Shade?
Yes. And Christine Jennings.
Yeah, and Christine Jennings, Streetlight Realty, I think, sponsored the event, hosted by Hazy Shade and put on by Dayton Disc Golf.
Yep.
Trying to give credit where credit is due.
And it wasn't much of a freezer bowl because we had 50-degree weather. I mean, you had shorts on.
Okay, so interesting you bring that up, because as I was packing out and getting the canned goods to go to the event today, and I was telling my wife what was going on, I had her take a picture of me in my shorts and t-shirt saying, how ironic is it, it's February, I'm going to a freezer bowl wearing summer clothes.
Right. Yep.
And she told me that's not what freezer bowl meant.
Okay.
She said that the freezer bowl is the food, like the freezer bowl is the food.
Oh, so like the fundraiser type. Okay.
And that makes sense because I think one of the freezer bowls is like in April or something like that, or April or May.
Okay. I was thinking cold, but
that's what I thought too. So if you are listening or watching, put it down in the comments. Let us know, is the freezer bowl due to the weather, or is the freezer bowl due to the food items for the donations? So we entered into the MA40.
Because we're old.
We're old. I'm gonna be 40. I told the guys today, I said I'm a cheater. I'm 39.
I'm gonna be 42 in May. That's crazy.
Yeah, 42 in May. My gosh.
Yep, I'm old.
Where for your birthday, your 40th birthday, a year and a half ago, we didn't go anywhere disc golf, did we?
Yeah, I went to Idlewild.
Was that year?
Yeah, it was last year.
That was your 41st birthday, wasn't it?
That was last year. Yeah, this past May.
Yeah.
My 40th, I don't remember. No.
That's how old we are. We don't remember birthdays from a year and a half ago. All right, so let's kind of dive right into it. We signed up for the MA40. There were only 2 other teams, and they were both on our card. So going into our first tournament of the year, we've only played 3 tournaments together. We've done the BYOP at Hazy Shade BYOP each summer the last year since I started disc golf with him in 2021. And every year, I think we've played better than the previous year.
Correct. I think we finished 4th last year in MA2, which is the intermediate division.
Yeah.
But, I mean, now that you're 40, we get to play against the older people that can putt. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, so for us playing the first tournament of the year, what were your expectations going into it?
My expectations, as always, is do not suck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't suck.
Mm-hmm.
Always I start the first 5 holes. Like I told you before, I'm nervous, always nervous.
Mm-hmm.
It just takes a while. I started in 2015 playing tournaments, went all the way to 2019, and then I became a baseball coach and didn't play solo tournaments anymore, and I had to play here and there and with you in doubles tournaments. But now, it's nerve-wracking at first, but once you get going, you're ready to go. So.
Yeah. I was telling Lisa before I headed out, when I signed, the last couple of years, you've told me to sign up for the match play, and I always said no because I was too nervous to do it and go out and shank and hit trees and just make a fool of myself.
Yeah.
And going into that singles tournament last weekend, that was on my mind. I was like, man, I'm going to be so nervous, just be calm. But the whole time, it was weird to me. Even the first hole, I was like, I don't have any nerves for some reason. And I think it was because I couldn't disappoint myself because I've seen how bad I'm capable of playing. So I was like, if I play bad, whatever. But then today, when you said, even today, before we started, like you just now mentioned, you had said, doesn't matter how many years you do this, how many you've been in, the nerves still kick up. And I found the same thing in sports that I've been in, skating and stuff.
Yeah. Same here. Even though I'm a baseball coach, I still have those nerves going into the game. Are my kids prepared? Am I prepared for what's about to challenge me? And just, you have to adapt.
Which one gives you more nerves and more anxiety, playing or coaching?
Coaching.
100%.
For sure. Because I can't really control, I can teach the kids how to do it, but I can't control what they do on the field.
Yep. Yeah. So me and Jeremy Strecker, all the years of roller derby, we always said the same thing. We played together, never really got nervous because we had control over performing, and then we'd coach the girls, and we'd always be like nervous wrecks.
Yes.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. So I told Lisa today, I was like, I wasn't nervous, and you even said that in the parking lot. And at that point, I was like, I'm not nervous. And then the moment we got on the tee pad before we even started, I was like, what is going on? I started getting jittery.
It's like all your adrenaline just goes to that. Yep.
Yeah, so they started us off on hole 6. If you're local to Belmont, hole 6 is a must birdie hole. I've actually witnessed not too long ago, a few months ago.
I think it was like year. Yeah, it was probably about 6 months ago.
Yeah, so 6 months ago or so, we play all the time, Belmont whenever it's not windy, and I witnessed Ross ace that hole. He usually parks it.
Yep.
Other than lately, I usually play it pretty well. The last few rounds I played there, I've been off big time on it. But we were first on the tee pad, and you want to talk about your first shot?
My first shot, just like always, every tournament I play in, my first hole, I usually, if it's a solo tournament, it's always a bogey for some reason. It's just that jittery, and I threw a Gateway Karma, and I just didn't throw it hard enough.
I think it was a safe
It's just kind of like a sawed off, yeah.
I think you put it a little bit nose up, and it just bailed out a little bit early.
Yep.
And then I did the opposite. I was like, well, it wasn't even a bad, when we're talking about bad shots.
You went forehand.
Yeah. So. But you were circle 2, mid, deep circle 2-ish.
About 55 feet, probably.
So not a bad shot, but it's a birdie hole. So I had the opposite approach to it after that point. I was like, okay, well, he's close enough that we have a run at it. Like, I need to not come up short. And I ended up burning mine over and over flexing it. Not burning it, but I over flexed it. And we were 3 feet from each other. Side by side. And it wasn't just us, both the other teams on the card, everyone was scattered, and it was CTP hole on the first hole of the course, and we didn't even write our name. No one wrote a name on the CTP.
I think the closest person was 45 feet, and that wasn't going to make it.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, so anyways, we step up to hole 7, and we had the tee pad on 6 and on 7, and Ross steps up, and this hole is a little bit tricky because it's a pretty straight and fairly open hole, but it's got danger right behind it going down a big hill in OB. How'd you feel going into that one after 6?
I was confident. I threw the same disc as I threw on 6, the Gateway Karma. I threw it, and then I just walked off like my favorite disc golf player, Michael Johansson. I didn't even watch it. I knew it was under the basket, and I was like, well, it's your turn now. Run it. So
yeah, he turned around and didn't even watch it, and I watched it finish. It made me feel good because I was like, you want to get that first birdie and get some rhythm going. And then I kind of just, my only thoughts on that hole was hole 8's tee pad is really close to the basket, that if you saw something off there and you throw hard, that you're in danger. And that's how I don't want to embarrass myself. But I threw a little flex envy out there, and it ended up landing underneath the basket, which, again, I haven't been playing that hole too well, but we took an easy tap out birdie.
I mean, we were both laying on top of each other, like right underneath the basket.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, I got a little bit concerned because I think the other part about tournament, when you don't know the other teams, you don't know how well they are. And then when that guy from one of the other cards hit a long putt with a driver, I was like, this could be trouble. Like, I don't know.
Because my dad, he's old school and he putts with the driver all the time. Yeah. Because that other team, they had a birdie on that one with us, and that might have been their only 2 birdies of the day. Yeah, that one and maybe hole 10 later on.
But yeah, moving on to hole 8, I don't think there's much to talk about. Neither one of us had really good drives.
I threw a Gateway Diablo and I did not throw it well.
Yeah, kind of the same story as hole 6. You came out a little bit early, ended up fading out early. I overturned my time lapse, circle 2. Yeah, duff putts.
Took the 3.
Took the 3.
Yep.
And the same thing there. One of the other guys, let's see here, not the same team that birdied hole. It is the same team that birdied hole 7. They birdied hole 8 from a circle 2 driver throw-in putt.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
So back to back, we witnessed this other team of 40-some.
So they were ahead of us,
dunking.
Yeah, they were ahead of us by 1 there.
But then we step up to hole 9, and again, if you know the course there, hole 9 is kind of a tricky one. It's a longer hole in the course, wet tee pad, a backup because there's 3 tee pads that kind of converge in the same general area. You threw a little bit low, right?
Yeah, I threw a journey and it hit the first available tree. Hey, look at that, first available.
First available. Yeah, I threw a time lapse forehand really as hard as I could. I almost blew my knee out again. and it ended up skipping underneath the basket, which I'll be honest with you, the whole before we got up there, and especially after we got up and picked up your disc, I still wasn't sure if I was even not down the hill. I thought it may have rolled down the back hill again.
Because remember, like, practice on Wednesday, we practiced there, and you were opposite, the reverse side.
Yeah, and I threw it softer, but it must have picked up and rolled. The time lapse has a weird thing, the one that I have, where it kind of rolls backwards, and it ended up rolling like 50 feet downhill left of the basket. But today we were parked for tap in, and I knew that that was a guaranteed CTP hole for me and you. Yep. So we were going to get a swag bag, and it wasn't until 2 holes later when we were walking by there that someone else had already was already closer. I think I was about 7-8 feet or so.
Oh, for sure.
All right, so we got a rhythm going now. We go par birdie to open up, and we get to hole 10 again, one of the easier holes on the course. You've got the tee pad. What'd you do?
So hole 10, I threw a reptile disc golf serpent. I threw it perfect. Yes. I thought it was underneath the basket. I kind of left it short, I guess. I thought it was a good shot.
It was a great shot. It was so great that I didn't even do a run up for my forehand.
Yeah, you're right. You did. You hit that one tree, and you're actually parked, and I'm not. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I jokingly said, you want me to run this? Because I figured, no matter what I do, we're just going to tap yours out and go. And it's still, you were probably, 12 feet? Yeah. 12 feet or something like that.
We would have had a little downhill putt.
Yeah, but first star frame. One of the teams had took a bogey on hole 9. We birdied. The third team had parred. So some separation. Then we get to hole 10. Everyone threw good shots on 10 off the tee pad, I think.
Yeah, like I always say at Belmont is, like, the first, let's say 10 holes, those are birdie or die holes. Mm-hmm. Like, you almost got to get those because as you go on, 11 through 19 is not birdable.
Absolutely.
Sometimes. Those are bonus birdies if you get them.
Bonus birdies, I agree 100%. So hole 11, speaking of bonus birdie, hole 11 kind of back up to hole 9's tee pad area. Hole 6, 9, and 11, it's in that convergence area that I was talking about. It's one of the tougher holes in the course, pretty far downhill to the right.
Yep.
And what'd you throw on that one?
I hate this pin placement, but I threw a leopard 3, and
it was turning good.
Yeah, I kind of snuck through there and then hit the one tree and bounced left a little bit.
Yeah, so you turned it. It got through most of it, was looking good, and then it just got a kick late. But we were solid. Like from your drive, I knew. Yeah. Let's pause real quick. How do you feel about driving first? Because from my perspective, obviously throwing second, if your drive is at least parable, that feels good to be able to run.
So I like driving first with you, is because you can throw further than I can.
Not as accurate.
And I'm pretty accurate. Like I'm right down the fairway. It's probably pretty much down there. You're a little more aggressive than I am. Actually, a lot more aggressive than I am. So, for me to go first and give you an opportunity to be like yourself, super aggressive, that's how we roll.
Absolutely. Yep. And just to kind of on the other end of that for putting, we were talking about this with the guys today. When we played the BYOP last year, Ross was driving and parking the majority of the holes within 15 feet, any variance in there. Yep. And for my putting game, it felt the same way. Like, I don't mind putting first because I can still be somewhat aggressive with the koi, knowing that if I miss, that we still should be pretty parked.
Correct.
Even though I apparently forgot that as I threw every putt short today for the first 7 holes. All right, so we were talking about 11. You got down there, late kick, but I knew when you landed that, hey, that's a part worse for us. I can go ahead and try to throw this forehand time lapse really hard. Thought it was great.
It was good.
Yeah, I was starting to walk away. It's really the
Everybody
same.
niced you at the end. Yeah, everybody niced you on the tee pad. Everyone's like, oh, nice. And then every time.
Yep.
Every time.
Yep, the moment they said nice, it kicked. I think it hit somewhat the same tree, or close to, and landed right by your disc too, probably 20 feet. Same distance, just side by side. So easy up and down for par. One of the guys, let's give some credit to him. I think it was Nate, right? I think his name was Nate.
Sure.
Sorry if it's not Nate. Yeah. Nate Lockhart, I believe it was. He threw, and when he threw it, I was like, oh no, he burnt that over.
Oh, you're talking about the roller?
The roller.
Yeah, the roller. That was a great shot. They were like maybe 25 feet away. Yeah. And they had mulligans to take, and they didn't take them because we didn't purchase, and the other team didn't purchase them. I suggest if you purchase mulligans, use them.
Yeah, I don't like mulligans, but I'm okay. It's not a sanctioned event or whatever we call it. It's a fundraiser,
freezer bowl.
At least credit to them when they saw that no one else had mulligans. They were like, "No, we're going to play straight up." And like you were telling them, we play most days and we get a lot of practice. We're probably the younger of the groups for the most part. So we had a little bit of an advantage on that. So at least respectful of them to not use the mulligans, but they should have.
Yeah.
So moving on from hole 11, everyone pars that pretty simply. I think everyone's laying up except for that one roller. They had to look at it. Hole 12 is a tricky hole, but it's in the easier pin placement, out kind of straightish more than the right.
It's easier. I would say easier for you because you can just bomb it straight.
Yeah.
I like the one on the right because I can technically bend it in there. And that's kind of what I did. I burned it in there, and that's not the right spot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so for hole 12, like Ross was saying, he's really good at doing the drifting, like Annie type shots. I love doing them, but I'm not very good at them. But yeah, I went to my most reliable. What'd you throw?
I threw a Journey, which that's like a new disc in the bag. It's really, really new. Shouldn't have thrown it today.
Yeah, and as we talk about these discs and stuff, Ross is throwing, I think,
I'm
all
throwing Gateway now because I'm like an ambassador, so 50% of my bag has to be Gateway.
Yeah, I think everything was Gateway today, right?
Yep. Okay. Well,
for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to my most reliable disc for that hole. It's a Tesla. Nothing really to speak about. I just kind of try to throw it as hard. Sometimes I'll get myself in trouble and kind of let it go early, but...
No, there's something to speak about. I think, like, you had a good line, and it just went right over the basket.
That is true. It was close.
I thought it was, yeah.
It was pin high left of the basket, so probably...
I was trying to get money. I don't know.
Maybe if I had about 10 feet more distance on that shot, it had a chance. But anyways, we had a tap out birdie. So
we were like 6 feet.
Where are we at now? We're
13.
Par, birdie, par, birdie, birdie, par, birdie. So we're 4 birdies, 2 pars.
4 under.
Yeah, 4 under through 6 holes. So looking really good. And yeah.
Hole 13's coming.
Hole 13. What is hole 13?
Hole 13 is the road hole by Russet.
Yeah, which we had to wait for the kid to get off his...
Yeah, we had to wait for a whole family.
Yeah.
Girls. I hate that hole. I don't know. It's like a bad design hole.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
It's not a good forehand line.
Nope.
There's no like backhand line. It's just not a good... It's always been like that.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's that weird distance where you have to throw like the kind of shot that you do where you get to turn and kind of pan out at the end a little
They say
bit.
it's 280. You can't get... Like, some people can get a mid-range down there.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, that's not my arm.
That's my problem is that if I try to go like for a while I was trying the crave and the servo, but I would find that if I got the good line that I couldn't get it to come back.
Yeah.
It would just keep going.
Well, the couple card mates, the one guy threw, I think they got a birdie on this, right?
They did.
The lone
they hit a
bird.
long drive again. Or a long
long
putt
putt.
again. Yeah. And that was
That was the other team.
the other team. That was Jurassic Park. So yeah, shout out to them. Good birdie because that was like maybe an edge of circle, maybe even a little bit outside into circle 2 a little bit.
Yep.
But they were a solo birdie on that. We had easy pars at least. We had a look. I don't remember your putt, but my putt was garbage into the ground again.
My putting was garbage.
All right, so cool. So making the turn and coming back, hole 14, the willow tree.
Hole 14 is my favorite hole on the course. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but that little mound. My oldest son drew me a little mound picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's still with me today. Like, he drew that when he was like 4, and it's like the best. But that's my favorite hole on the course. And I threw a Gateway Relum. It's a new disc in my bag. Shouldn't have thrown it. But
do you know
I
the
kind of want
numbers?
to burn it. It's 12. It's 12-5-1-3.
Okay, so
Yeah.
destroyer-ish.
It's a destroyer outlaw. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, it still wasn't a bad drive. It was a little bit short, but got around the tree.
I was probably on that. Yeah.
Yeah, would have had to look
That would have been like
look at
35 foot.
So the disc I've been throwing there every single time was my Coalesce. It's 9403 are the numbers. We talk about it all the time. My Coalesce is a little less stable than that. You can work it more.
Yep.
But it was in my mind that the card in front of us was the MA50 card, and they were on the T-pad.
Yeah, and you about killed somebody yesterday on there. Yeah.
Yeah, we practiced that course last week or the other day, and I yanked it, and there were people on the T-pad, and I literally hit the T-pad, so I was worried about that. But I threw it good today.
Today was perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect.
I mean, you pretty much spiked it into the hill.
I was concerned about that because it was fading back good, but I was like, man, if it hits that hill, you're in trouble if it gets on the wrong side, but it just stopped right on it.
You're good.
So we had a tap out birdie there. Again, we're looking at 5 under through 8.
Yep.
So more than 50% of birdies. Then we get to hole 15, which is right there, going back uphill. How do you feel about hole 15?
So going into all these holes, my drives are all garbage at that time, right? Remember?
Yeah.
And when you spiked it in the 14, I went over and sat down on 15's bench, and I was like, I got to get it together. I got to get it together. Like, something's got to change. It's like, so then hole 15, I've been doing pretty well.
Yes.
It's a straight shot, go through the little 2 trees, and I knew you wanted to be aggressive, so I was like, I got to just put it there, right?
Yep.
So I was like, I'll throw the G1, the gateway G1, straight down the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. It skipped right up in the trees, and we had a circle's edge type putt, and that's a bonus birdie hole because that's a long hole.
That's a long one.
And I wanted to be aggressive on that, but had you not had that good of a drive, if I didn't feel like that's a guaranteed part worse, I would have switched and I would have tried to take your shot, and we probably would have been in trouble because I don't ever practice that.
Yep.
But yeah, you had it good. I went with my plasma zenith like I did and tried to throw a really high Anheuser in the wind.
Backyard.
And I went about 80 feet long past the basket into almost in someone's backyard. And I would love to brag about the distance, but it wasn't a bad shot. Just
It's a bomb.
It's a little bit of luck. I have to get it to come out. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But anyways, you had us looking at a birdie.
Yeah, we took a 3, right?
We took a 3. Everyone took a 3.
Because, yeah, our putting wasn't on that point.
Funny you mentioned that because I hadn't hit a single putt until we got to hole 16. Hole 16 was playing short tee pads for us, which we
never play. And we probably should have. We probably should have practiced that short tee pad. I forgot how low the ceiling is on that right side, which we both tried to go through there and get there, but we didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so short drives were 50 feet out, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. When I went to drive, I think I told you my plant foot, my last step, I brought it down a little bit early and I caught the tee pad's edge.
Yeah, so that's one of those new tee pads too. They just poured like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's just my feet. Me tripping. But anyways, like I mentioned, I was putting first because I putt with the coys, and that way I can still run it, and if I miss, it shouldn't run away. But on this one, I happened to make it. That felt good, making a putt because I hadn't made anything. Hole 17, which we got to, and during the practice rounds you've been talking about, I've been playing that pretty well lately, but you stepped up to the tee pad, and what did you throw on that one?
I threw a Gateway Samurai, which it's probably 2012-ish. It's really pop top. I don't know. I throw it at right state all the time on hole 15 now. That's been my uphill bomber, and that's what I threw. I was like, I'm going to throw it in there.
Yeah, and
you're like 25 feet away, right?
Yeah, not very far, 20, 25 feet, pin high, level with the pin, left side, and then I went as aggressive as I could. And funny you mentioned hole 15 right state. I threw the Tesla, which is
it's kind of your uphill hole too.
Yep, uphill, and it wasn't too bad. I yanked it a little bit. So we took Ross's drive, and again, did I make that putt?
No, this is the putt where you hit the basket.
Yes.
You kind of flop like a soft taco, and then everybody mentioned it like, oh, like those coys, do they stick in the basket? Like one of the guys was like, did it go in and then come back out? Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't know.
It just fell. It landed 50-50 on the edge, and I guess it landed 49-51 on the edge and just fell out. Yeah.
So I stepped up and hit it. Yep.
So how'd that feel? We went from two deepish putts in a row after not putting very well either one of us at the beginning.
That was the only putt I hit the whole day. I think
it was the only one you had to. I think everything else that we had a birdie look at, we were parked pretty much.
Yep.
All right, so moving on to hole 18. This is a downhill, somewhat bomberish hole.
It's my favorite, my second favorite probably.
Yeah, I do like 18. The only thing I don't like about it is that 19's tee pad is kind of dangerous if you throw a bot shot early. But we didn't have that problem.
Thank God for that fence.
Yeah, yours. So again, you said that your drives were garbage, and a few of them at the beginning, I think you feel like they're garbage because a lot of those are birdie holes.
Yeah.
And the drives weren't necessarily bad. I mean, we all had a couple bad drives. But stepping up to 18, you threw a really solid drive in a really hard wind, too. It was windy every time you got on the tee pad.
It was kind of windy, wasn't it? Yeah, I threw a G1 again, just confident.
Yeah.
Some Samurai and G1 just worked.
Down the middle.
Yep.
And I threw a time lapse. We're in the same general area down there, circles edge-ish, kind of.
Yeah.
And it's a bonus birdie hole, so we didn't make the putt, as we mentioned.
35, 40 feet probably.
Yeah.
But again, that was when the wind picked up. Those back holes can get windy. Absolutely. If it's 3 mile an hour wind, it's 13 at Belmont. Yeah. So
every time we play Belmont, we will have no wind through like 10 holes, and then we get out in the field, and every single time it's like, there's the wind. So we are sitting at 3, 6, 7 under. Going into, there were 2 temporary holes created for the tournament today, 18A and 18B, that played out in the field. 18A, super short, 190-foot par 3.
Yep, we measured it 190.
Mm-hmm. And you went with
I threw the Altupaca. That's what I say.
Yeah, and you were 12 feet,
yep,
something like that again. And I threw a forehand pyro, terrible, was out in the middle of the soccer field by the goal. But we took Ross's drive. Again, if I'm making the putt that easily, it's 12 feet, I would say. Another good birdie. And 2 of us birdied that, us and one of the other teams. And then 18B. So 18B is a temporary uphill 380 foot, 370, something like that.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
I didn't like it, especially playing it blind, not knowing how it played, because it had a walking path through it, and it kept messing with me because the path curved left, and I kept thinking anything right of that.
I think you and everybody else thought that too. Yeah.
Like when the old guy from the MA50 cards threw out far to the right, I was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, that's
they like turned it over.
Yeah. I was like, no, he threw it the right way. So what'd you throw on that?
So I threw a G1 too and just turned it over. That was, again, like you just said, when I stepped up, it was probably 20 mile an hour winds. It was like, what the heck?
Yeah, so you were out a little bit righter than I expected, which I'm glad that you were, because better there than what I did, going out of bounds. But because the wind picked up, I made a huge mistake, and I switched to the teleport, thinking that the speed of the disc would help fight the wind for me. And it's not a disc that I throw; it's too much disc for me.
You probably went with the Zenith.
Should have went with the Zenith, even maybe a time lapse on a hyzer just to be safe or something like that. But definitely not the.
I almost think like if we were to redo it, like I would have told you to throw a forehand.
I think so too. Forehand time lapse,
and then maybe skip off the road or try to get to the road.
Yeah, because I could have tried to torque it really hard.
That was a terrible spot we were at down that hill.
I don't think your spot was too bad, especially for you. It probably was, but that was a good forehand spot for me. So this every tournament I've played in, I've played in 2 tournaments, but I feel like I can always identify one hole that I can just go back and say I wish I would have played that different from start to finish. And this is that hole for me because I don't like my drive selection. We stepped up to your shot, which you had the best drive of the card. We went last on our up shots, and it was a simple 120-foot forehand.
I mean, there was a tree, there was a playground equipment. I don't know. It was a bad lie.
Yeah. My mindset there was I'm going with the pyro. That way I don't throw it as hard and burn it over. I can kind of just lob it. And you immediately said, "Is that the entropy?" And I was like, "No, like I don't want to do that here." And the moment I let go of it and I yanked it over, I was like, I should have thrown the entropy upshot there. Yeah. Go with what you do the most to give you the best chance.
So what I did was throw a blade like a Firebirdish, and I threw it like low, thinking it would just skip. And I think the wind kind of took it and just sailed it away.
Well, I went right. You were going for it.
Yeah, I was going for it.
He was
thought you were
running
close.
Yeah, because you asked me how far are you. I was like, I think I'm like 15, 20 feet. I don't know. It wasn't that bad. It was bad. We were circle's edge.
It was bad.
So yeah, we took our first and only bogey of the tournament. One of the other teams took a bogey. One of the teams had to hit a long putt in order to save their par. So everyone was struggling on 18B, I think.
They were. That was a tough hole.
And then this says 18 again, but it's not. We go over the whole 19.
It'd be 19 original. Yeah. So I threw a Samurai straight, and I thought I had a perfect drive. I was like, I'm going to be laying by that little pine tree that's by the basket. And I probably would have if I didn't clip that tree.
Clip the tree, but still, I think you're sitting for a par. So again, it makes me feel good. 19, I think I tell you every time we play that, I hate that hole because of the parking lot. And the parking lot was full, so I was afraid. And I just threw a time lapse on backhand, so I knew it would bail me out. Ended up being a really good drive.
Yeah, that's really not what you normally throw there.
Yeah,
I mean, the synapse have worked. And that's me too. I kind of like turn it over a little bit and then go.
There's OB there too, isn't the flower thing?
They
Was that
say
OB?
it is. I don't
Okay.
think it was
I
today.
don't think anybody would have called OB if somebody would have landed it.
Nah.
No, screw it. But anyways, that was actually my only good upshot of the day. We didn't have too many upshots. We were either like looking at putting out or, what have you. But I went with the entropy, and I honestly thought I threw it short, and it ended up hitting the back side of the pedestal and just sitting down. So easy tap out par for us there. Only par on the card.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Yeah. So then we walk backwards, go over to hole 1, the starting hole, which is so weird.
This is it's such a bad design.
Yeah.
Like when you're playing a tournament, it's a bad design.
Yeah, a lot of zigzagging.
There's a lot of zigzags.
So what'd you do on hole 1?
Hole 1 was a Gateway Diablo that it's kind of replaced my Eagle. I just throw it like less power than my Eagles.
Is it like a 9-speed?
It's a 9-speed. So I throw it about 50%, and that makes my Innova Eagles gone.
Yeah.
So I threw it, and we're like 10 feet away.
Yeah, at most. It was parked. It allowed me to run at it, and I went with my reactor. I made the mistake that I do like making if I make a mistake by throwing it into the hill, so it at least has a chance to slide down. I was probably 15, 20, probably closer to 20 feet, but you were parked, so we took the only birdie on the card.
Which is crazy, because that's one you got to have.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, absolutely.
That's one you got to get, because like we start on there. There's usually 4 drives when we start.
Yeah.
That's how we warm up. It's 4 drives on the first hole.
Yep.
Kind of breakfast bowl-ish.
Yeah, breakfast bowl. So what I like that you said, and I agree with you, the beginning part of that course, holes 1 through 10, is kind of the soft side of it.
Yep.
With us starting off on 6 and finishing, I knew that we had a pretty solid lead without checking the score going into hole 1. So I wasn't even worried. I figured at that point the tournament was basically over because I knew that we had the easier holes to get.
Yeah.
But that may backfire because that could be the easier hole for the other guys to get if we start laying off the gas pedal.
I wasn't laying off the gas.
No, we step up the hole 2, and
I threw a samurai and hit Clark Griswold's Christmas tree right in the front.
The pea tree.
Yeah, the guy. Yeah, the pea tree.
Yeah, the pea tree.
I was gonna talk about the pea tree.
No,
but
we gotta talk about it. We're not gonna say who did it, but again, the MA50 card guy, he honestly was probably in his 60s. I think they put together the 60 and the 50 card, possibly.
You might be right.
Because he looked way older, and there's a tree right in the middle of the fairway, and it's kind of the tree you want to go either left or right of. And dude's just leaning against it, peeing, and we're all cracking jokes. Like, no one cared, I don't think. I didn't care. Like, it is what it is. I'd rather you pee than piss your pants. But that is the tree that sometimes you hit, and you luckily came up just a little bit before that tree.
Yep,
right?
I did. And you had your best drive ever there.
Best
The best
drive
drive I've ever seen.
Yeah, great par. My
Yeah.
best drive
Yeah.
ever. But the putting wasn't there. We were, I think, looking at about a 15, 20 footer again.
Yep. So for the Red, White, and Boom tournament that was here in Belmont 2019, that whole fairways 19 and 2, there was a dividing line that was a fairway.
Okay.
That was OB if you went past that. And then they played the long tee there.
Okay.
So like Nico and all them, they used to roll it. But that, like, they were nowhere near where you were today. That was a bomb.
Yeah.
That
I
was a
felt
crush.
good about it. Yeah.
I don't know how far that is distance-wise.
Yeah, I have to pull it up on Google Maps because I think we were level with the pin, right? Pretty level with it. Yeah, I don't know.
So that's probably like I would say 380.
Yeah, it was close. I will say that I went to Wright State to warm up again today, and I didn't feel really good. I didn't tell you this morning. I think it's because I wore shorts. I messed up. I should have just wore sweatpants.
It
but
is February in Dayton, Ohio.
yeah, I was practicing and just something. I was like, I'm not feeling it today. I only threw 2 drives. I threw my Zenith, which was kind of fine on hole 10, where we usually open up, and then I threw my Wave. And the moment I let go, I was like, my gosh, that's a bomb. And it went all the way past that tree that's out on the road to the right of the circle. It went like 50 feet past it, and I ranged it, and it was 425 feet from the tee pad.
Yeah.
Now, it was a huge, drifting turn.
Today's was like straight. That was a straight bomb.
An actual golf line for once.
So what did you throw there? Zenith?
Plasma Zenith.
I mean, that's your longest distance driver right now that you just said.
Yeah, it's a good driver. I just got to throw it right. I know when I burn it over, I'm rolling my wrist. But anyways, let's stop tooting my horn over here.
I mean, we're like disc golf nerds together. Yeah. Like, I've been trying to get you to play disc golf since, 2010?
Yeah.
When I came down to Florida and said, hey, you need to pick this sport up. And you're like, nah, dude, I'm like into roller derby and I don't want to do that. Like, why?
Dumbest thing I've ever said. Let's talk about that after the tournament, because that's a good thing too. So we're moving on to, was that hole 3?
Yeah, we're going...
That was hole 2.
No, 2. Okay. So 3, I threw the blade. The last 3 rounds we played Belmont, I've thrown low, and people kind of look at you like, what the hell are you doing?
Yep.
And today, same thing. I was like, dude, I'm throwing low, skipping, right underneath that little railroad tracks.
Yep. Yeah, one of the guys, when you let go of that, I think he said something along the lines like, oh, go, go. Like, because everyone on our card was cool, that everyone's cheering each other on kind of deal. And I didn't say anything because I knew I've seen you throw that shot every time we practice that hole. And it usually will just hit the ground right before and slide up and then actually somehow jump over the railroad tie underneath the basket.
Yep.
So same thing. It stopped right before the railroad tie, tap out birdie. So thanks for letting me tap it out.
Yeah, you resisted. Yeah, you went past the basket.
I actually had a good drive. It was a little bit long, but it is a death putt. That's the thing.
I hate that.
Yeah, when you go around my way, or not my way, when you go around the standard way, you are setting up for a death putt downhill. Your way is safer.
Back when Hazy had the BYOP at Belmont, that used to be an island hole.
Okay.
So if you didn't make that railroad track, they would extend that railroad track out a little bit. So they would have a bigger circle.
Was it still OB for the...
So if you didn't make the island, it would be a D drop zone.
What if you make it, but then on your putt, you throw over? Would that be OB?
No, that would be okay too.
You're okay?
So that would be like hole 14, that little mound. Mm-hmm. They played that as an island too.
But only off the tee?
Yep, only off the tee.
Okay. And then probably off the drop zone too, maybe? Or just off the tee?
I think it was off the tee.
Okay, but...
So then hole, what is it? We on 4?
Going to 4.
4 is one of my favorite holes too. I like both spots. I like the right and the straight. Mm-hmm. The straight is my favorite. I don't know.
I don't know how you did it. It was windy. The wind picked up on you again.
See, I don't think it ever affects me there. Back when I used to throw Thunderbirds, that was I parked that hole all day, every day. Yeah. And now I throw a Diablo, and it's just like the same thing.
You parked it again today.
Yeah.
Which I'm not good at.
Yeah,
I'm
you
good
just
at
gotta throw low, get your little skip, and you're good to go.
You find me a course that you have to throw high and nose up, and I will probably have the best round of my life.
I'm not sure there is any.
No, but funny you mentioned that other pin placement out to the right. The other card, Jurassic Park, they both threw bombers that landed probably within 10 feet of the wrong pin.
For sure.
But yeah, only birdie there, and again, you had it parked.
Yep. Sitting under the basket.
Yeah. Moving on to hole 5. So this is interesting.
This is our last hole.
Last hole, and I think it's probably the longest hole in the course. It's got to be close.
16 is probably long if you think about the long tee.
Yeah, the long tee.
The long tees.
For the tournament, I think it was the longest hole. Downhill on a pedestal.
No, hole 5 is like a longer hole 13 for me. It's not good. I don't like it. No,
I hate
it. Hate it. It just doesn't match my turnover type of shot. I don't like it. I just can't get it to whatever. I tried the free tail the other day, and I was like, what? I can't throw that. Like, I just can't get that angle. And you're good with your angles, like the Anheuser angle. I've never been able to Anheuser.
Yeah. Yeah, so the last couple times we practiced that, I had thrown my Zenith, like we're also saying that's my longest driver usually when I throw a good shot, not just an accidental long drive. And I had gone 60 feet long or so the second time.
Sure.
Yeah, past the damn thing, which this basket's hard to reach. And then I went with my teleport the other day because of the wind, and it actually clipped that first tree on the right a little bit. If you remember, it hit that branch, and it still skipped past the basket.
Yeah.
So your shot.
So I think once you get over the hill that you're supposed to get over, you can get one down there, but I just can't. I don't know. It's in my head.
Yeah, the thing today for me was that tee pad for hole 6 is over on the right, and if you do burn over early, like the first year we played the BYOP was that course, and I threw my Daedalus and I ripped it out hard right and hit the yeah. It's up here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's one of the only end of this I still have. But yeah, I hit the wood barrier fence over there, so that was kind of in my mind today, and I was like, the tournament's over, like we got this in the bag, but I still want to throw a somewhat aggressive shot. I left it out there a little bit high and dry, but we were level with the pin almost.
For sure.
50-footer, and then I step up and duff a layup.
Yeah, putt. I tried to go for it. Just didn't do it.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. The reason why I rushed that putt and stuff was because that was the last hole of the tournament, and I had just lost my grip sack that I just bought the other day.
Did you get it back?
I did get it back.
Yeah, you ran up there. And got
it. I had to run all the way back to the tee pad. I've lost 3 grip sacks in the last 2 weeks. But we only par on that. We took a 3. The other 2 teams took a 4. It's a hard hole. For that division, I'd say it probably should play as a 4.
Correct.
So.
That and 18B or whatever today.
Yep. So tournament's over. We finished 10 under with 11 birdies, 52% birdie rate.
Yep.
One bogey.
Yep.
The other teams were 14% birdies and 19% birdies with multiple bogeys. So we shot well.
Yeah. The one team on our card, the two guys only, the one with the roller, they said they only played like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And then the other guys were like once a week type of dudes.
That's
the first time I've ever played with somebody other than my father that putts with a driver. My dad lives by that.
Yeah. Well, when they hit 7 and 8 back to back, I was like, we might be fighting.
Yeah, fighting them.
That's
kind of what I was.
But yeah, we ran away with it. I don't know if there's anything else to talk about on the tournament front of things.
So I mean, if we would have played MA2 like we did last year, what would we say? 4th place, 5th place again?
Mm-hmm. We were looking up the stats, and like the stats were ridiculous how low these teams shot. But then we remembered that it's a fundraiser, and you're able to purchase mulligans. So one team shot, what was it, 20 birdies? 20 under.
Yep, 20 under. That was in the Open.
Yeah, 20 of 21. Well, if it's open, I mean, I guess someone could have a really good day. I would say I would put my money on that these teams were using mulligans, which is fine. I mean, it's part of the tournament, but if that's kind of the reason why I don't like mulligans is because I do want to be able to evaluate. I did that with my tournament last week, and I was like, if I had played the MA2, where would have I placed?
Yes, that's what I always say.
Yeah, exactly.
Back when I play tournaments.
So it's hard to do that because we can't tell if teams use mulligans. And then the counter that people could say, well, you could have just bought mulligans too. So.
If you go back to the 20 under, they also played the long tee pads.
That's true.
At Belmont.
Yeah, if they were in the open division. Yeah.
So
that's it. Let's talk about, like you were talking about, my foolishness of playing roller derby for so many years. So real quick, for anyone that doesn't know, Ross and I have known each other since like I was in 2nd grade, I think.
So I was in 3rd grade.
Yeah, 92-ish.
Sure.
Moved into the neighborhood.
Those old times.
Yeah, I saw you playing sports up in the cul-de-sac with other people, and we just kind of hit it off. Been friends since. But I moved to Florida shortly after high school, a couple years after high school, to try to get my work life together and stuff. And I got into roller derby because I've been roller skating sports for my whole life. And then I remember you came down for your birthday in
2010. Yep, went to Daytona.
Yep.
And you met us down in Daytona. We went to... Where did we go? We went somewhere in Daytona.
I don't think I went with you guys.
Yeah, you did.
I know we didn't play disc golf.
I know.
We may have...
Because I tried... So what happened was in 2010, remember I mailed you my disc in a box to your work at that time, and I said, hey, I don't know how these get on a plane, if they're going to question them or not.
Yeah.
So I shipped my Frisbees down to you that day.
Yeah.
And then I picked them up from you.
I forgot about that until you said that. Yeah, so I lived in DeLand, which is 20 minutes from Daytona. And Ross had been telling me for years to try to get into disc golf. And I was so busy with roller derby that I didn't. And then during the pandemic, me and my wife decided that we didn't want to live in Florida anymore due to the cost and just a bunch of stuff down there. The house that we're in right now is the house I grew up in. It came on the market, and we were able to get it out of foreclosure and kind of fix it up, lower our expenses. And I remember about 3 or 4 weeks after I moved here, I just messaged you one night, and I was like, hey, when are you going to take me and show me what the disc golf stuff is all about?
Yep.
And then you're like, tomorrow morning, 8:45. And I was like, I'll be there. And I slept in. I slept in all night, and I woke up at like 10 in the morning. I was like, whatever. I'll go next week.
Yeah.
So next week, you tell me the same thing, 8:45, Kettering. I'll be there. I slept in again. I missed the first two. I don't know if you remember. I missed the first two.
No, I don't remember that.
I missed them. But then finally the third week, I was like, all right, I promise I won't play video games till 4 in the morning and drink beer all night. And I ended up coming out to Kettering, and I didn't know anything about it. Ross set me up with a bag of my own to play with.
I did. Yeah.
And he's like, I got so many discs, you can, come over, we'll pick you out something. I was like, just give me one to play with today. And if I like the sport, I know myself, I'll buy stuff that day. But I wore my running shoes that are like the cloth minimalist running shoes.
I remember the when you told me, you're like, how much to play?
Yes.
You're like, how much to play? And I was like, what the hell is he talking about? How much to play? Like, dude, it's free. Come out. Like, right? And you're like, do I need money to pay like the
green fees?
The green fees. Do I need money to like get a snack? Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, damn, he thinks this is like ball golf, and this is nothing like ball golf. Okay, so you did wear tennis shoes that day.
Yeah, those
Okay,
black
so it was
ones.
kind
It
of, did you
was wet. It was May.
MVP?
Or no, it was
Dew.
June.
It was dewy.
Yeah, it was Father's Day weekend.
Okay.
It was the day. It was literally
So
the
that was
day
June.
that, or the day after, or the day before James Conrad hit the holy shot.
Yeah.
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 So he had hit it the next day, and sure enough, we played, and your dad and Scott were there, which was really cool. And then I remember after that, I went to Hazy Shade and picked out my first set of discs, and
those discs were the Fireball.
the Fireball, which the guy at the shop told me like that you don't want that disc. That's not the right disc for you.
So what I gave you, I remember to this day what I gave you. I gave you a Dynamic Disc Thief, right?
Okay.
I gave you a Claymore, a Thief, and I maybe gave you a Judge to put
I
with.
think it was the Judge White. I remember throwing a white disc,
So I gave you like 3 discs that day.
and I was throwing them left all day long.
Well, yeah.
Sawing them off.
I feel like the Claymore now probably for you is like the Hex, like straight. You could probably turn it over a smidge.
Yeah, that's a Latitude disc.
Is it Latitude? Yeah, it's Latitude.
Okay.
Yeah. So then you went to Hazy. I mean, you didn't know anything about anything.
The numbers were blowing my mind. The guy that explained the numbers to me, he goes, okay, the first one's how fast you have to throw it, which still doesn't make any sense.
I always tell you, I don't really look at numbers. I think numbers are kind of just like what makes a 14 speed a 14 speed.
Yeah.
I don't throw 14 speeds. I don't throw 13 speeds. 12 is my max, and I might throw a Boston or something, but
Yeah, well, he tried explaining the turn and the glide, and I do like, for me, not knowing anything about disc golf, this isn't a knock on him. I think he explained it the right way. He said, hey, the lower that turn number gets, consider that like a 1 is 1 step to the right, a 2 is 2 steps to the right, and then your final number is to the left, so 1 is a 1 step to the left. Like, that kind of makes sense to someone that doesn't know anything about it.
I never thought of that.
So the reason why I picked MVP was because for 2 reasons. First off, the colors. They had a lot of good colors in there with the Axiom disc. Axiom's really good because they got, I think it's the two-tone, the rim. When I saw the discs, I saw all the non-MVP disc stuff, and I was like, oh, those are Frisbees. I don't want Frisbees. I want a disc. And for whatever reason, I think also the flatness, like I felt like that's a disc. That was my envision of what disc golf was.
So you thought it was like a beach Frisbee.
I didn't think it flew that way. Just something in my mind, just like, that's a, I don't know. I don't know any better way to explain it. It's just, it stuck out to me. And the best part about it was I bought a Fireball, a Relay, and then 2 other Axiom discs. And I got home and screenshot them to you. And you're like, oh, you went the MVP route. And I was like, I got 1 MVP disc and the other 3 are Axiom. But I didn't say that because I didn't want to sound stupid. Because I didn't understand that Axiom was part of MVP at the time.
Right. Because, I mean, when I started in 2007, it was all Innova. Innova and Discraft. And at that time, Discraft was called Discrap because that plastic just wasn't Innova, you know? Wasn't a T-Bird, wasn't an Eagle, wasn't a Destroyer, wasn't a Wraith.
I joined disc golf at an interesting time because I think it was right after Paul went to Discraft, right? A year or 2 after that.
Yep. So 2000 and so when did you start playing?
21.
So Paul was Discraft in 19.
19, so 2
20.
years. And I think that was the year James Conrad went to MVP, if I'm not mistaken. Because I watched the 20.
There's 2021.
Yeah.
When he won the World Championship.
Yes. Yeah, it was that weekend that I started playing.
Okay, so 2021.
Mm-hmm. And I think Ricky was new to Dynamic that year too, or the year before.
So he was coming back from Innova?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I always find it interesting because when people talk about when players played for other manufacturers, that none of that's in my memory because I wasn't around. It seems like I joined the year where people like made their move, and now I'm starting to see the other end of that, like with Gannon going to Discmania, and Simon and Eagle going to MVP. Now I'm starting to see the moves, and now I start having that background of, oh, I remember when they were throwing Dynamic or you know, or whatever. So kind of interesting stuff.
Yep. It's just like other sports that we watch, like baseball, basketball. Players go, they come and go.
Yep. I like it. I think it's good. I know the sport, from what I've read and looked into and stuff, had a boom during the pandemic.
It did.
It seems like out of all the sports that did receive some sort of a boom, that disc golf has rode the wave longer. It seems like it's still like with the hype with Eagle and Simon moving and Gannon moving, all those players. I think that it's riding it out further
I think it probably actually grew. Like they always say, grow the sport. I think COVID actually did grow this sport. Because so my last tournament was 2000 and whatever COVID was, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
My last tournament was at Belmont, my last solo tournament, because I then became a baseball coach. But my last solo tournament was at Belmont, and it was like 13 degrees outside. It was March.
Oh yeah, because it was right before the pandemic. It was March,
and we were like, that was like when everybody was talking about like, don't grab people's disc out of the basket.
Yeah,
like that was the hardest thing because you throw it, somebody else throws it, you grab them, you pick them up. Yeah, no, you couldn't do that. Yeah. There was I remember like hand sanitizer. Shout out Perel. Every tee pad. I'm no joke. So after then, I became a baseball coach, but I did hear about like they were putting hand sanitizer. That's insane, dude. Yeah. That's insane to me.
Well, it went away quick because, like I said, I came almost literally a year after COVID, summer of 2021, and we didn't have to deal with any of that. We played the BYOP that year, and I don't remember much mention of it. I think they were saying like, "Hey, just try to keep separation." That was pretty much all there was to it.
Again, I don't really like. I know like we protect our necks in the wintertime because it's cold. Mm-hmm. I have to always take that mask off to breathe and just get my. Like, you could do it. You do it all the time. Like, you leave your mask on. I cannot breathe that thing on.
Funny you mention it because that mask I bought for COVID, specifically because I can breathe through it.
That's what you are now. Yeah. So it's like Gator or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't stop anything. That's the only reason why. No. That's why I wore it. But
yeah, that's why I wore it too.
So one thing I forgot, I think probably last topic for today, unless you have anything. One thing I forgot to talk about on last week's podcast was the changing from UDISC for the scorekeeping. Going into my first tournament, I was a little bit nervous about that because I was like, I don't want to have to learn a new app while I'm trying to learn how to play a solo tournament. And I found that the PDGA live scorekeeping app was absolutely flawless and great. What are your thoughts?
This is what I heard Paul Uliberry talk about earlier this week. I think they are going, like, UDISC is going to still be around, but I think PDGA is going to set up like their own scoring thing and say, hey, like, give us $65, like the membership or whatever. That's going to include that app.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
That would just be like, I would actually renew my number every other year, probably.
Yeah, renew your number. You get the app along with it. I think it's a great package. And then,
I mean, right now you're getting a magazine and maybe a disc if you pay extra money, right?
Yeah, I regret throwing my magazines away at the beginning because I was like,
right.
I don't give a shit.
I have, yeah.
Now I want them as backdrops.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a great idea because I think it's good on both ends of it because the PDGA, if you're using their scorekeeping system, they get that data. And as we're learning, coming out of the social age, like in the beginning, no one understood that data was an actual commodity that could be sold.
Correct.
We're learning that with all of our robocalls and stuff we get day to day. So yeah, maybe you get your membership, they throw you the app scorekeeping for free along with it. Yeah. And then they get on the back end, they get the data returned.
Okay, so what? UDISC is going up to $30, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like I mentioned, I'm a baseball coach. We don't use a paper book anymore, right? We don't use where you're marking the guys going to first base, second base. No, we use this app called Game Changer, right?
Is it a game changer?
It's a game changer. So, like, if the kid gets a hit, you're saying, hey, if the kid got a hit, where did he get the hit? Right field, left field, shortstop, he got out, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think I pay $10 a month, and my wife pays more than $100 for a Game Changer app that we only use from May to July for baseball games. So people are bitching about UDISC when you can use UDISC every day. Every day. Every time you play disc golf, you use UDISC.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have to, like, you don't want to use UDISC and you want to use PDGA scoring app, you're going to use that every day.
Yep.
I would hope you use that every day.
Use something. We talk about this all the time when we're on the course. Like, I have no issues with UDISC. I love it. I didn't even question it. I bought UDISC Pro a month and a half into playing the game just because it was so cheap. I think it was like $15 when I first joined.
It's so cheap.
People are upset with the price increase, but they've added so much to it. The only thing I don't care for, I think it's fun and it's funny, is the round rating because it doesn't mean anything.
That round rating's terrible.
But that's just now. They could figure that out and fix their algorithm for calculating that round rating, and it could actually be used for something.
Yes, the round rating's garbage because I think you can see the average on the hole, right?
Yes.
And if you get a 2 and the average on the hole's 3.6, that should help your round rating.
Absolutely.
Also, wind, rain, snow. The PDGA does it when you play a tournament. In the snow, the wind, rain, they factor that in.
Yeah, and they should.
But I don't necessarily think that's, I don't know. It's just like an added feature.
I like UDISC.
Yeah, I love UDISC.
Yeah. And you can export all of your stats. I did it on the live stream a few weeks ago, directly to Google Sheets and do whatever reporting you want on it. So if you're a super nerd, like, people undervalue that, I think.
What, super nerd?
No, like having access, because usually with an app like this, in my experience, they'll be like, "Oh, you can pull data from the last 6 months." Like data people don't understand how expensive it is to store data, especially for an app like this that's being used from professional down to I just started today type people. Yeah. That's a lot of data storage to have to do. And how many times other than today's tournament, which we should talk about, have you had issues with the UDISC app not working? I think we've had it one time, like we're like, oh, did you start a scorecard? Like it's not connecting. Let me restart my phone. I think
sometimes when I do the scorecard, the first hole I always have problems. Mm-hmm. But then after that, it might just be my phone too.
Yeah, it could be. Same thing with my phone. I don't ever have any issues.
Sometimes when I go to a course, the courses don't pop up.
Yeah.
And that might be a GPS issue with my phone too. But again, like, you can type in UDISC, see which courses are available to play. Mm-hmm. There's like that little busy thing too that I don't think that works. I don't know, but you get there and it's packed. Because I played at Delwood in Illinois, the Cannons. Beautiful course, but they said it wasn't packed, and we got there and it was. But that's probably because people didn't use UDISC though.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, UDISC. Today it didn't work, and I don't know if that was a user error on our card or if that was just the app, because I know that the tournament director and some of the volunteers had said leading up to them in the last few days that UDISC was having issues with scorekeeping, so we had to keep a paper backup. I will say that it's a bad look the moment that the Pro Tour moves off that app to a different one, and then this app doesn't work. But I think you just have to understand that sometimes technology has issues. That's the only major issue I've had with it.
I feel like they're like the Hazy Shade last year. We used something different. Did we not?
I don't know, because I feel like I'm always stuck with the paper card, which I don't mind for some weird reason.
See, I don't like the paper card. That jinxed me. Yeah. I feel like we used PDGA scoring for Hazy Shade last year.
You're right.
I don't think we used UDISC because it messed up.
I think you're right now, because for some reason when I was looking at the interface and the green squares and stuff, I was like, man, like this app looks slick. It looks familiar, but yeah, we'll check. Yeah. I think that we did. All right, cool. So that's pretty much all I had on the table for today's talk. Anything for you, Ross?
I saw today, as I was driving over here, a kid in Cincinnati got an ace, right? He posted it. He said he got his ace, right? But then he wrote on the basket.
Oh, yeah.
And now...
I saw it too.
Yeah.
So...
It's not good.
Yeah, what's your thoughts? Tell me your feelings about writing on the basket when you get an ace.
Do not do that. Do not do that ever. I was just telling my wife, Heather, that in Illinois, at a course we play in Naperville, where she's from, they have little score things on the T signs, and they're called Ace Club. Ace Club hole 1, Ace Club hole 2. You get an ace, you sign. They want you to sign. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember the bench at Idlewild when we played for my birthday last year. The one, I can't think of the hole, but it's a small hole. Macbeth hit it with a Nova.
Is it in the woods? Yeah, it's the one that somebody almost aced it. I think it was you.
The basket's kind of like on
the pedestal, the railroad tie type things. Yeah.
So there's a bench there now that they want you to sign, mm-hmm. but you don't ever sign the basket.
Yes, I agree.
Never sign the basket. It's just a bad look.
Yeah, I noticed that in the comments of that picture that you're talking about, that one person had like an anonymous type profile where you can't tell who they were, and they were the one and only person that was saying that it was okay to do it.
Yeah, that's just.
Yeah. No, don't write on the basket. It's public, and public or private property, doesn't matter. It's not your property.
Yeah.
You shouldn't write on the basket. I agree with that 100%. I will say that private course that I play down in Florida, it's on a church, Faith Community Church in St. John's, Florida. They have an ace club board at hole 1 because it's such a short course that if you get an ace, they have every hole on there, just like you said, just in one spot.
I have played somewhere like that too. I cannot remember to save my life. It wasn't in Ohio. But I like those. We went in Easter time last year, and there was a bunch. We went back last month, and I feel like they were all missing, right? Mm-hmm. So they like erase each. Yeah.
It was the same. And it's outdoor. That it rains too. So, but I think it's cool. Definitely don't write on the basket. Courses you probably should consider putting in some kind of ace club if you got it in the funds, because it's cool. People like aces. What I think last topic, since we're talking about aces, I saw this post. What do you think about? I saw a lot of comments like people are saying like, how long until you got your first ace? How long was yours?
I saw that one. Let's see. It was probably like around like yours, like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I remember it was hole 6 at Belmont. It was with the T-Bird.
Was it in the same design as it is right now?
No, it was to the left. So today shot would have been parked.
The same design, just different pin.
Yeah.
But the design hasn't changed, right?
Yeah. So it was the same hole, basically.
Just different pin
maybe
placement.
2 less trees too. But it was to the left.
Yep.
Where we threw today.
What kind of disc do you throw? Do you remember what it was?
It was T-Bird. End of a T-Bird.
That's right, you just said that. Yeah, I hexed, like I said. We were playing our doubles round. It's luck. A lot of it's luck.
It was not luck.
For me,
The Stubbs ace was not. That's a easy hole, but like when I threw a T-Bird, see, you threw like the proper disc on a 200-foot hole, where I threw a 7-speed on a 200-foot hole, right? Mm. That's probably too much disc for what I was shooting for.
Yeah. I think I threw the hex because now that you're saying that, like 200 feet for a speed 5 from you back at that time was probably pretty hard.
Yeah, you should be throwing a putter a mid.
Yeah, I don't know. It went in. I couldn't even see it going in. I just heard it, and then Scott cheered.
It was center pole the whole way.
What would you say to someone that's been playing for double digit 10 years or more that's never had an ace, and say they play at least 3 or 4 times a month? Oh. So somewhat regular, but they don't play every single day.
So it's kind of like me before. Yeah, so I went 2007, then 2014 was my last ace before 2020. So I went 6 years basically, but in those 6 years I was only playing weekends, right? Yeah. So you have less chances of getting lucky, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's rough, but you got to think. Like they always say, like father time catches up with you. It's caught up with my father. My father used to be able to throw 300-foot drives easily. Yeah. Now they're kind of out of his reach, so.
Yeah, so you got to find a short course.
Like what we have is, I don't know why we haven't played there, but that little short Twin Valley or Twin Creeks.
Oh, yeah. And now it's closed.
It's really not worth playing, but.
I want to. I saw the one over by Wright State, the little crappy one over there, the old one. Yeah. I've never played that, and I need to, just so I can say that I did it and I know what it's about.
Those are Monroe baskets.
yeah, that's bad. But I would say to someone like that, if you play a few times a month and you've been playing for a long time and you don't have an ace, like there is a degree of luck to it, because I've witnessed you hit dead chains. I hit chains on 13 with a interceptor back when I first started, and it spit out a rubber disc. There is a degree of luck, and especially if you do play, the more you play, obviously there's a percentage of numbers that the more throws you take, the more chances you have to get an ace. So keep that in mind. Don't let it discourage you.
For sure.
Aces are fun, but they're not,
Yeah, it doesn't dictate your disc golf career. To be quite honest, I think I'd rather putt better than have aces.
I think those guys were thinking I was lip servicing them today when I said that, because I told them that, our card mates. Yeah. Because I was throwing further than everyone on the card, which I should be, because I'm the youngest person on the card too. But I told them, like, if I could trade in and only be able to throw a maximum of 300 foot, but I was automatic from inside the circle, I'd trade that all day long.
Yep.
Because that's when you score. That really is when you score. So
I mean, that's pretty much me. I can throw about 330, dead straight. Give me a 25-footer, I'm like, ugh, that's scary. And then 35 is even more scary.
I think you're a better putter than you're giving yourself credit for.
That's probably true.
You hit a lot of putts. As everyone does, you'll get into a rut every now and then, but you don't seem to stick in it for very long. And at least the putts that you miss, unless you're just having one of those days, your missed putts, it's like, okay, that was a good putt. The line is good. Yeah. But you see me, I'll miss a putt 8 feet out to the right, and sometimes
Airballed.
Yeah, it's been getting better. But anyways. All right, so I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's show. Ross, it was great for having you. Any final thoughts?
Nope, this was fun. I hope to do this a lot more. Well, God willing, my wife willing, my family willing, allow me to do this. This is awesome.
Yeah, so big shout out to the families, our wives, our kids. They tolerate us playing a lot of disc golf. That's why I try to give them at least a little bit of acknowledgement in the videos and stuff, because it really is. Dad life is crazy. You dads out there know. We're really fortunate. I would love to have you on. I try not to ask you to do it, only because I'm used to some of my friends that they don't want to hear anything to do with any of my YouTube or stuff. So if you ever want to come on something, video, podcast, let's make it happen.
Yep. We also have like what we're going to do next month, hopefully. Yes. We just don't want to spoil it yet.
What kind of special video series are we doing?
We are going to throw... So we're going to throw 64 putters, different putters, every brand, kind of almost. We're going to do almost all the brands. Legacy, Gateway.
MVP, Legacy, Innova, any brand that we can find.
Yep, everything. So we're going to go to... What are we doing? One basket?
Yeah, we have to work out the logistics of it, but basically we're doing a March Madness themed thing. So we're going to we'll have an actual video for just Selection Sunday where we take all the 64 putters that are available and we just draft. We start drafting, picking our putters.
Okay, so that would be a video we have to make.
Yep, that'll be one video. And then basically in the city of Dayton, we're going to pick a course on each side of the city, so northeast, southwest, and we'll find like one of those aceable short 200-ish.
So Kettering hole 12.
Yep. Xenia 1 could be one.
Carroll 1 could be one.
Huber Heights 1. So any of those baskets. And the main reason for this is we have to do a lot of back and forth walking. But basically, once we select all these putters, we're going to put them on a March Madness style bracket and have them single elimination, see which putter reigns supreme, and do it together. So we'll do like the Northeast, Southwest. That'll be 4 separate videos. Yep. And that'll get us down to a final 4. And then it's single elimination, but once we get to the final 4, that'll be the last video, the 6th video of the series. This is the way I'm envisioning it, and that'll be more like a best of 7. So we'll go or best of 5 or something like that. Something where it's not just one. Oh, I shank that, so that putter is done.
Okay, so what would be your top 8 putters?
My top 8 putters for me throwing them.
Yep.
I think the most obvious one, I'm going with an Envy.
Okay.
I'm going to have to pick whatever's in my bag, so I'll pick Envy, Proxy.
See, those are the ones I'm probably not going to pick because they're MVP.
Yep. Now, so I also want to give a shout out once we get things moving. Well, I love giving shout outs apparently. But Hazy Shade, I went in there and I was hitting up the use rack because I was like, hey, we need some more putters. And I'll just hit up the use rack. They don't have to be in great condition. Yep. Jeremy that runs Hazy Shade, he saw me going through there and I told him, hey, we're doing this video. He ran to the back and gave me a stack full of putters to go on top of what I had. So we'll make sure to give them credit. But yeah, I got a whole array of putters over here that we'll pick from.
I have a boatload. So for me to be a P2, I could probably put the Nova in there. Like, I can throw a Nova pretty well. A Serpent pretty well. Wizard, of course. Warlock. All the Gateway putters are probably going to be mine.
What about a sleeper? A sleeper pick that I wouldn't expect you to throw. What about the 0?
That's not
much of a sleeper pick.
I mean,
that's you ace it like 4 times.
Yeah, that's the Pixel basically that's going to come out here in a minute.
I will have the Pixel too.
So the Pixel's coming, and
2 of them.
So I think Landon's going to get the Kratos, so the Kratos will be thrown in there for this graph now. We get a Focus. We got a Focus.
Got a Focus.
So a Focus is basically like a Wizard.
My sleeper pick is the Praxis. from Thought Space Athletics. It's the one that has the boot on it. I got like that bronze one and that deep purple one. Because when I did that Ace Run video, I was really liking how that flew. It was almost like a softer, like more turning Envy.
So we got to drive with these. So that, oh man, a driving putter.
We have to pick our courses. So if you're local to the area and you know the courses and you know any of those 200-ish foot holes like we just talked about, those hole ones at Xenia, Carroll, Huber Heights type 12 at Kettering.
Stubbs would have been good, but I think they're closing that place and they're closing Sycamore. I don't think Sycamore has any shorties.
I don't think I've ever thrown a putter off a tee there.
You know the surprising one would be at the Berg.
Yeah.
We don't have a Rayco either, do we?
No.
Yeah.
You can get one though. Do I throw a koi off the tee pad?
I don't think I've ever seen you throw a koi off the tee.
I was doing it in Florida, and I was very surprised at how well it was throwing.
So what's the other one? Arowana?
Arowana. That one I actually really do like, but that's because it's in that hard rubber.
Oh, a Yeti ABR. I mean, I've aced with that before. That's a deadly.
How do you think we should just do like a standard back and forth draft for the whole thing, or do you think we should draft like maybe like 48 of them and the last 16 just have the computer randomly pick it?
Ooh.
Or should we leave it up to the fan?
Should we no, like 50-50? So maybe we pick 32 and the computer picks 32 for us?
Mm-hmm. That sounds fun. I think that makes it a little bit more interesting. It's gonna make us throw some stuff that we're not familiar with.
I don't want to throw MVP.
Well, that's fine.
We'll figure out the
That'd be a
logistics. We're not
32
sure
pick.
yet.
That'd be that. I don't think I have to worry about the MVPs.
For me.
How about we pick a list of discs that, hey, these are the ones I'd prefer not to throw, and the computer picks one of those each for us.
That sounds good.
That way we have to throw one thing and make us uncomfortable.
We're definitely dorks.
Yeah, we are huge
like
dorks.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, like I said, that does wrap it up. As always, if you're listening in, thank you so much. If you are watching the video, again, I'm trying to get this posted on everything. We're on YouTube, Spotify, all the major ones. The only one I'm not on right now because it's giving me fits when I try to make a new account for this channel is Apple, but I'll get that hammered out as soon as I can. So any of you Apple listeners will have access. That's it. Ross, again, thank you for joining us today, and can't wait to have you on the next one, man.
Sounds good.
All right, take care, everyone.
See ya.